if you're trying to break into the technical field from a non-technical role, imposter syndrome. Like I'm saying something that you probably feel. I do too. I've been in technology for 25 years. I still feel like an imposter from time to time. It's that prevalent. It goes that deep. And does it go away? No, not really. I've learned to manage it and deal with it, but it never really goes away. It can sabotage you. It can set you up for failure because you'll look at technical roles, you'll look at things you're completely qualified to do or projects you're 100% qualified to take on. And you'll have a moment of hesitation. You may not talk yourself up as much as you should. You may actually downplay your capabilities. You may finding yourself doing twice as much work as anyone else just to prove, just to get over that imposter syndrome. So it's critical that you learn to manage your imposter syndrome, but more importantly, you have to start believing in yourself. That's the only way I have ever been able to get around imposter syndrome is every time I learn a skill, every time I look at anything technical that I'm trying to learn, I'm not so much trying to prove it to somebody else. I'm not trying to master it so that somebody else realizes that it's amazing. I have to prove it to myself. It has to be so bulletproof in my head that I'm comfortable telling other people that I am proficient in whatever the technology, the platform, the concept is. And that's something that, like I said, it's never really gone away. I started in sales and you get that stigma. I talked about this in another video. You get that non-technical label on you and it never goes away. And you can get that non-technical label from 100 different places. You can get it from having a job that was outside of technology that really is in no way, shape, or form related to technology. It may come from your educational background. It may be that you've come from an arts, non-sciences type of degree program or curriculum. You may be middle-aged. I mean, I hate to say it, but ageism is rampant in technology. And that can be another reason why you feel like you're not technical enough. It can be a massive source of imposter syndrome. Really, anytime that you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people that don't look like you, or a whole bunch of people who don't think like you, or don't have the same background you do, when there's a club and you don't feel like you belong to it, that's a huge recipe for imposter syndrome. So when you're building yourself up, when you're developing yourself as a technical person, think about how you're going to prove it to yourself, how you're going to be able to have the confidence in your capabilities to really say, this is me, this is what I can do, and yeah, I can prove it. Because that's going to help you in job interviews. It's going to help you signing up for projects. It's going to make you more confident when you're building solutions. You're not going to be asking as many people for help, even when you know how to do it. And that's the frustrating thing, isn't it? You know how to do something, but your confidence sometimes gets in the way. It did for me. I would ask for more help than I needed, and I didn't look as capable. I really had to build myself up, build up my self-confidence to take on more advanced projects on my own and be independent. There are some good benefits to working collaboratively and getting a whole bunch of eyes on the project. But at the same time, you want to build your own credibility. You want to establish your capability, and taking on increasingly complex projects, that's how you're going to do it. So imposter syndrome is hugely detrimental to you. It's something that you're going to have to overcome, and you're going to spend a lot of time doing this. Aside from just sort of convincing yourself that you're capable, doing again and again and again helps you build your confidence. Nothing succeeds like a little bit of success. When you've had results, when you have a track record, it's easier to point to that. And when you get those questions, when you get those doubts from other people, you can point to your track record, and it's an easy shield that you can hold up. So working on projects, working on product lines, using new technologies, applying them, it's going to give you a level of confidence. You have to get over some of the initial fears of failure in order to do that. So be confident in yourself. Realize that the people around you Most of them do not have technology figured out any better than you do. Most people are Googling everything. That's not weird. And so that's another piece of the imposter syndrome, is thinking that you're the only one. Sort of isolating yourself, even though your behaviors are extraordinarily common. There's stuff all of us do all the time. You see other people doing it and you're like, yeah, but they're experts. And then you see yourself doing it and it causes you to doubt yourself. Don't put yourself off into the island where you think that you're the only one who does things this way, that you're the only one who forgets, that you're the only one who doesn't have these perfect capabilities, because everyone is still figuring it out. Realize that in technology, everything changes so fast. Programming languages, the same programming language, the syntax you learned maybe a year or two ago, may be different now with all of the updates, the new packages and libraries. It's never ending, is it? It's going to be a continual learning curve. And so everyone at some point is at the same place you are. And it's kind of funny because as new releases of a programming language, as new frameworks and architectural components come out, everyone starts at zero again. Everyone starts being an amateur or rookie at that particular piece of technology. It's just the underlying patterns and practices that differentiate any two engineers learning a new technology. So as you begin to look at people around you and think, oh, I'm never going to know as much as they do, realize that as new technologies come up, they will know exactly as much as you do. They will be learning it as quickly as you do or as slowly as you do. They will be figuring it out as they go along and Googling constantly, potentially taking one or two different courses in order for it to really sink in, for them to be able to apply it. Maybe messing up for the first couple of implementations. Realize you see people's success all the time. I had to delete an entire class or block of code, or I had to redo an implementation. You don't get to see that. Like, no one's advertising that. No one walks around the office and goes, you know what I messed up beyond all recognition today? Very few people do that. So all you see is the success. And when you look at it that way, you see your failures and all you see is everyone else's success. It's very easy to look at them and say, well, they're perfect. Why? Because look at them. They've never failed. And look at how often I fail. I had to get over that myself. And that's not the case. Realize if you sit down with people, maybe a little after hours time with them, and ask them, start trading war stories about the biggest failure. The most successful people in the world have the absolutely funniest failure stories. I do. Everyone I work with who has a lot of experience in this field, we all have some amazing failure stories, but they're also turnaround stories. We learn a lot from our failures, and we have to fix some significant problems throughout our entire career. And so when you hear a failure story, what you're also going to hear after that is how we then fixed it. We blew it. It didn't work. What did I have to do in order to fix it? What did I have to learn, potentially relearn? Did I have to re-implement? Was I using the wrong architecture to begin with? Did I have the wrong tools? Was it the wrong programming language? Did I not understand the requirements? And once you start listening to all these stories and we talk about what was the root cause? What was the lesson learned? What caused the failure and what did we do going forward to fix that failure? When you listen to enough of those stories, you begin to see the truth about technology is that the most senior people in technology have all failed. The only difference between successful people and the people who failed is successful people had the confidence and the determination to keep going, to keep working on it and to keep fixing it. There's perseverance to failure. Yes, you fail. Yes, we all fail, but not all of us keep going. And imposter syndrome can be a huge, huge anchor that basically connects you to your failures and never allows you to move forward. You're constantly feeling like you have to defend your failures. You're constantly feeling like you have to make up for some perceived flaw that showed up this one time. You don't, because we all have flaws. What you have to do is move forward. You have to continue to improve. When you break something, you've got to fix it. When things go wrong, sometimes you bring in a team to help you, and that's okay. You can ask for help. It doesn't mean that you're less capable or competent. But when you've tried everything, the best thing that you can do is bring in team members. Look at very senior people in technology. Believe me, when we need a lifeline, we're calling someone. Sometimes not as fast as I should. I still wait too long. I'll admit it. I like trying to figure things out. I think all engineers and anyone who's technical loves to figure things out. Sometimes I spend a little bit too much time that I could have saved myself by just asking another member of the team, asking someone that I know is way better at this than I am. Sometimes that's imposter syndrome. Sometimes that's me feeling like I got to prove something to myself by doing the things that I may not be the best at and banging my head against failure repeatedly, trying the same thing over and over. You've compiled code and not made any sort of change that would have mattered to fix the errors that you're having. You know you've done this. I've done this too. That's imposter syndrome. It's us being stubborn and needing to prove something to ourselves. And so if you're coming into technology from a non-technical role, if this sounds like stuff you've done, don't feel bad about it. And realize all of us, doesn't matter how technical we are or how long we've been doing this, all of us do it. You're not alone. You can ask for help. You can Google. You can make mistakes. But you have to persevere and you have to fix whatever went wrong. You have to be confident in yourself, confident enough that you know eventually you'll find a solution, or that you can put the team together, get the people and the resources together that will solve the problem. Remember, that's what your team is for. So the people around you are for. They're there to help you. You'd help them, right? If someone, very senior member of your team said, hey, can you give me a hand with this? Would you think less of them? No, you'd be honored that they asked you to help them. And that's how a lot of people feel. When you trust them, when you say, hey, I need a hand, and you're not one of those people that's just constantly needy, you're just on those off chances and off occasions saying, hey, I need some help. Be specific with your questions. Sometimes you actually look really intelligent when you ask intelligent questions. Even though you don't personally know the answer, being able to just intelligently formulate these questions, that's a technical skill in and of itself. So don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Get the help that you need. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't think that you're alone somehow in that. Don't let that be a source of imposter syndrome for you. It's because you're not. This is everybody. And so spend more time with other people. And that's something that imposter syndrome can prevent you from doing. If you feel like an outsider because you're not technical enough, or because you're not from tech, or you don't have the tech degree, or you don't have something that you're using to justify why you're an outsider when really you're not. If you stay away from other people, if you don't spend enough time interacting with other members of the team, you don't get their perspective, and you can feel like even more of an insider or an outsider. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You push everybody else away because you're hiding and covering up some of your faults. But by pushing everyone else away, you have a hard time realizing how much like you they all are. The other thing you're going to realize when you start hanging around people in technical groups, especially very senior level technical people, they don't care how technical you are. No joke. They don't care if you've been doing whatever coding language it is for 15 years or 25 minutes. If you can build solutions, that's all they care about. That is all technical people want, is to work around smart contributors. And smart doesn't mean I've memorized everything. Smart means you can get the job done. Smart means you think about problems and you come up with some really interesting and creative solutions. That's what smart people mean when they say technical. They're talking about solutions. They're talking about problem solving. They're talking about your ability to think through the difficult problems, not the simple ones. Writing code's simple. Coding is different than engineering. Banging on that keyboard. Really technical, very senior people, you'll begin to see they all diminish the role of banging on the keyboard compared with engineering and architecting and problem solving and analytical thinking and being able to have the courage to take on complex problems and solve those. Being able to communicate your solutions. You'll find really technical people, find excellent communicators and go, okay, you're on our team. You want to know why? Because when we're done with this, you're going to be the one who's going to be able to present it best. Everyone's going to love the solution more because you're the one talking about it. That's because you have strong communication skills. You're able to build teams. You're able to build coalitions and to work together with other units to solve difficult problems. Really technical people value that. And it's not a technical skill, but it is. Technical communication. It's actually a class that they teach at universities. And people pay a lot of money to learn how to be a technical communicator. And that just means speaking to a variety of audiences about technical concepts and being able to impart the information that they need in order to go away and be able to do whatever it is they need to do, whether that's a user or maybe an engineer on another team who's going to have to be part of integration or implementation. So you don't have to be the best coder to be the most technical person on the team. You don't have to be the most mathematically proficient in order to be one of the more technical people on the team. You begin to realize that these low-level skills that everyone tells you are technical aren't. And so most of the things you're worried about, most of the things that are giving you anxiety and imposter syndrome, those are all the same things that gave me anxiety and imposter syndrome. And now looking back on it, like those aren't even the most important technical skills. Those aren't even the things that really matter. And those are the things I was the most stressed about. And you probably are too. Most of my imposter syndrome came from me not being perfectly memorized on, Java commands and Java, there's pieces of Java like lambdas that I didn't get for the longest time. And I thought, oh, I'm such a miserable programmer because lambdas were hard back then. Like they were really hard. And that's not even that important. They look cool, but really it was architecting the solution and building the components properly, using best practices. Didn't have anything to do with the fact that I had to Google interfaces on a regular basis or that my regexes were, I needed work. None of that mattered. That was all the easy stuff. And I spent so much time in the weeds focused on those things. And I, for the first few years of my career, did not listen to the people around me who were saying, look, don't get too far into the weeds. Figure out how to architect the solution. Use engineering best practices. Use those patterns that you've been taught. Think through the problem. Work with users. Really understand the problem. Figure out how this has to work. Look at the environment that you're operating in. Look at the tools that you have. Question everything. Those are all the important capabilities that I needed in order to create a reliable solution. You didn't hear me use the word regex or lambda. You didn't hear me use a single platform. Like I didn't say SQL. I didn't say any of those things that we tend to focus on as being our sources of technical authority. And that's because the more senior you get, the less those matter. The keyboard part, that's easy. That's easy. And if there's something you forget, it is so easy to Google now. I mean, it's a 5-minute thing to remember and refresh your memory versus think about how long it takes to build a reliable solution compared to how long it takes to Google a lambda or any type of syntax, and even learning new programming languages versus learning how to architect a reliable solution. Which one's going to take you longer to learn? Which one's more valuable to the company at the end of the day? It's not the stuff you focus on a lot. It's not the real sources of imposter syndrome. Those things are, those are minor. And like I said, don't let all those little fears keep you away from being part of groups with your peers, working on projects with your peers, being wrong in front of your peers, or asking questions in front of your peers, because you're going to start to see their thought process. You're going to start to actually hear them talk through how they build solutions. And you're going to come to some of the same realizations that I did, that I was really hung up on a lot of the wrong things. I'd have never learned that if I didn't work with very senior, very smart software developers and data scientists and just scientists and engineers in general. If I had kept myself back and I'd stayed out of those projects, I would still be worried about my regexes, which, like I said, doesn't matter. So don't let imposter syndrome keep you away from working with some of the people that are going to teach you, really, number one, how to be an amazing engineer, how to be an amazing technical contributor. But number two, they're also going to teach you the core fundamentals and the foundational concepts that really matter. The process of building whatever amazing technical solution you end up building. Those are the most important pieces to learn, and you're going to get those from very senior people. You're going to get them to start giving you their perspective, that you're going to take that, you're going to adapt it to your way of doing things. You're going to make it even better. You're going to make it something that works for you, that you can use to build amazing solutions. But you're not going to get that if imposter syndrome keeps you back, makes you think, oh, I'm going to look stupid. I look stupid all the time, and I don't care. You want to know why? Because I make companies stupid amounts of money. I build really, really complicated stuff. So I can look stupid. You get to do the same thing. It's okay. You make mistakes, especially when you're new. No one expects you to be perfect. And if they do, they're an idiot. They are themselves suffering from imposter syndrome. And you're going to find toxic people all over the place in technology who are simply insecure and afraid because you're doing things they're too scared to do, and that they were too scared to do at your stage in their careers. So don't worry about it. People that want to make you look stupid are going to do that no matter what you do. So ignore them. Put them off in the box of Clown Car Island where they belong, and start working with more senior, more technical people, because they're the ones that truthfully don't care. Like, zero tolerance for BS. The farther up you get in the actually have built complex technical solutions, not talk about the technical solutions, and then have nothing, no history. When you get to people who truly are technical and have built complex solutions, you're going to get past that layer of truly weird, toxic, insecure people for the most part. You're going to get to a core group of people who are just concerned with getting the job done, getting product out the door, and moving on to the next cool thing that they can work on. And that's going to be the focus. So ignore the haters, ignore the doubt in your own head, and that's coming from those people that are, oh, you did something wrong. We all do something wrong. Get over it. We got work to do. We all make mistakes. Get over it. Let's get in, get it fixed, and get moved on. That's the attitude of very high-performing senior technical teams. And if you find yourself on a toxic team, it's not your fault. Like, you don't deserve to be treated that way. You don't deserve to be treated like an outsider simply because you didn't come from exactly the same background as everybody else came from, or you didn't memorize whatever it is that these people have memorized. You don't deserve that. You don't deserve to be treated that way. You should find the overwhelming majority of people that you work with are open, supportive, welcoming, want to teach you, and don't care that you make mistakes. They only care that you're willing to try, and you stick around and you're accountable when you make mistakes and you fix them. That's all any of us care about. The people that don't, those are toxic people. They're all over the place. They're not a reflection of you. Their attitudes aren't your fault. It's their fault. They're the idiot, not you. Everybody makes mistakes. And like I said, the more people that you surround yourself with who have that quality, positive mindset, the more you're going to realize that. And the faster you're going to advance in your career. You really realize that the smarter the people around you, the faster you move forward. You can turn a 10-year journey from junior to senior to like a 5-year journey if you're surrounded by really smart, really passionate, really knowledgeable people who are more focused on getting the job done than pointing out whose fault it was or playing the sort of office politics games. Those are toxic teams. That's not your fault. It's just an opportunity for you to move on to a better role. It's good if you're in one of those toxic teams. Get out of it. You don't understand. You can't see this because I get dozens a week of people talking about how badly they've been impacted just by one toxic team, just by working with one bad team, picking up all those worst practices, getting that deep-seated, ingrained imposter syndrome. There's just so many negative side effects to working with a toxic team. It's not worth it. You may feel stuck in your role because they've made you feel small, but you're not. You have skills, you have capabilities. Don't be afraid to take them to some other team because tons of places are hiring right now, and they want people like you. They want people who have some experience in the field and who aren't afraid to try, fail, improve, and to continuously learn and improve themselves, who are comfortable being uncomfortable and growing and working with very technical, very senior people in productive ways, focusing on what's important, not on sort of this strong person competition where the strongest technical shall survive. It's not like that. So don't get stuck in one of those toxic teams and do all those little things that I've told you to overcome that imposter syndrome. Convince yourself. Convince yourself that you're technical enough, that you can do this, and look around and realize we are all not that much different from where you are, as we all have to continually learn and relearn. We all have to fix our own mistakes. We all make those errors that we know we shouldn't have, but it happens. The more senior I become, the faster I can recognize my mistakes and fix them. That's really one of the big things that makes someone senior versus junior, is just the ability to get 10 minutes into a mistake, realize that I'm making a mistake and go back and fix it, to getting 10 days into a mistake and realizing that it doesn't work and here's why. It's a lot of becoming senior, is learning to recognize your mistakes early. So realize you're not an imposter. If you're doing the job, you're not an imposter. If you are doing quality assurance, you're a quality assurance engineer. If you are installing servers, you're a server admin. If you're installing networks, you're a network engineer. If you are writing code, you're a software developer. If you are building models, you're a data scientist. You are one. And that's the only proof you need of your capability. You did it. You're in the job. You got it. You got nothing left to prove to anyone else except for you. But you got stuff to build. So focus on that. Look at how to build the best whatever it is that you're building. Don't worry about the external noise. Don't worry about the toxic people. They're all over the place. But make sure you're on a team that's supportive. And if you're not, don't be afraid to go someplace else, because you deserve to be treated better. All right? So get over that imposter syndrome. Took me forever. I get it. It's not easy. But realize you have proven something to yourself, haven't you? So take just that little bit of the edge off of the imposter syndrome and keep going. Keep trying, keep learning, keep fixing, keep getting better. Don't let imposter syndrome hold you back. Don't feel like an outsider just because you weren't always here. Realize nobody's always been here. Everyone started someplace. Everyone is continuing to grow and learn. And if they're not, they don't belong here. But you do.